So guys, so for the very next episode in the Escaping Polygamy series is actually my mom's episode, and I've already done a full detailed review on that, so we're going to go ahead and skip that one for now, but if you still want to watch that one, I do have a video about it. But this episode that we're going to now is doing a bit of a recap on Jennifer's escape. I also did a video on her escape. That one's just summarizing her escape, and in this one that we're going to talk about, it touches on it and it kind of shows a little bit of the follow-up for her. What ends up happening when she goes back, because we've seen her in her episode that she ends up going back to the order. And so now we get to see a little bit of that inside information about what happens when she goes back. Now we get to see a little bit of that inside information about what happens when she goes back. We get a sneak peek actually from the insider that sends us videos and gives us a lot of information about what takes place and what happens next in Jennifer's life. Now, one interesting thing on that, or we'll get into that into the actual review, but then we also have some information about, we're going to finally see Joe's. We're going to see this, in this one it shows Joe and goes into detail about his escape and shows some of the difficulty that, or the difficult aspects that he ran into, especially with his father. His father gave him a really hard time, not only when he was trying to leave, but he was like contemplating this idea of coming back, just trying to see what his options were to potentially still see his family, still keep some sort of a connection, and do whatever it would take to make that work. And his father pretty much told him he couldn't. And so this one's going to be really interesting to see the difference between when a girl leaves and changes her mind, decides to go back, versus when a guy does it. It's dramatically different. So check it out. So, in Jennifer's episode, there was speculation that her dad was having this power dilemma of letting her marry the person that she wanted to marry versus the person that she was supposed to marry, her arranged marriage, you could say. And we can see now that she is able to marry the boy that she wanted to marry, that she was striving and trying to get married to. And it's kind of interesting because she is first cousins to this person, and yeah, very closely related. It's kind of wild.
Upsetting because once again, there's another incest marriage taking place in the order.
It's also very interesting to see the videos and to kind of like sneak peek into what her wedding was like, because it just looks just like all the other order weddings, right? And to me, what's very strange about that is that she just barely left and essentially ran away, not just in secret and like run away in the night, but she was public about it. Essentially, everybody knew that she was trying to leave, but as soon as she goes back, it's like everything's back to normal, and she goes and gets married, and everything seems to be fine. I don't know if she's like acting, or if they're all putting on a face, or if it's fake or what, but essentially what it looks like is that everything's just continuing like normal, like nothing happened. So I think that's kind of interesting. I would love to know more like specific details on what they're all thinking about, and what especially what Jennifer is thinking about on all this, going through all of this and just going right back to trying to pretend like nothing happened, and going back to the way of living that she grew up doing. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me.
I just thought that you should know.
There's Daniel.
And then to also see the dynamic with her and her dad, because she does the father-daughter dance at her wedding, and just in her episode, she was talking about how much she hates her dad, how all the problems that he was causing for her, all the abuse and all of the, we got to read the text messages that he sent her. It didn't seem like there was much love or kindness in them at all. But now, all of a sudden, everything's good. Everything's all right, apparently. I think this gives us a little bit of a sneak peek to how much order members just play this false reality in their head and ignore everything else. Okay. Okay, so now we get to see a little bit of Joe's escape. Jessica's talking about Joe leaving the order, and Joe is one of her half-siblings, but one of 130 siblings. This is their first time meeting up, and it's been quite a while since he's left. It's tough talking about this because it's your own sibling, someone that you've grown up with, but Jessica and Joe, even being half-siblings, I mean, it is out of 130. I don't know really what to make of it, but it does really make me appreciate the connection I have with my siblings. It makes me want to continue to put that effort in, to be there for them and to let them know that I'll always care about them. So Daniel straight up says to Joe that he wants to set up this meeting and talk about what Joe needs to do in order to come back to the order. And literally he has this whole list prepared of the amount of money that he's going to have to pay to go back to the order, everything that he's going to have to do, all of the apologies that he's going to have to make to fix the damage that he's done of leaving the order, to even consider his own son to be able to come back to the order.
My mother was the third wife of 14.
So Joe sees all of these things that his mom is going through and having to deal with, and he wants so badly to just help her. His relationship with her, the way he describes his mom is so touching. You can tell that he really cared for his mom, and he describes her in a way that she's been there for him, that she really has done her best effort to be able to raise him and be there for him, and he has this personal connection to her. And I feel like that's just getting ripped away from him. It's so sad. The hardest part is to watch him describe what his mom is going through, and through his own eyes seeing what is happening, and him trying desperately to do anything that he can to help, to try and make it stop, and seeing that him, even as a young boy, understanding and seeing different options and different ways that might be able to help her, but they won't even let him try to help. They won't even listen to any other advice other than these leaders that aren't letting her get the proper help that she needs. It's just devastating. It's so sad to think of how many people must have died because they weren't willing to seek out help from non-order members. The leaders are so strict on where you can turn to for help, who to believe for medical advice, and they're very stubborn. They don't give people much options when it comes to that. It's really sad. I don't know how it doesn't feel and watch these people die and take no responsibility for it and not even care. It's really sad.
Just said that it's not true, that she's not throwing up blood and she's getting better.
Especially when Joe is with his mom way more often than her own husband is. And so he's not there to see what she's going through, see how horrible it's getting for her, and he just keeps telling them that she's getting better, everything's fine, and he doesn't he's not doing anything about it. And Joe has to go through that every day of seeing his mom and seeing how much pain she's going through, and he has to deal with that.
She was lying on the couch and we were getting lunch ready, and then at like about 2:15, and then she stopped breathing.
So he tries and tries and tries, but his dad won't listen to him. And his mom ends up passing away. It's so sad to see this happen, and it's frustrating knowing that there could have been other options, The results could have been different, but it's extremely hard to get people to listen to you when you're in such a closed-minded environment and they're only used to listening to the leaders. That's why it's so difficult making these kinds of videos, because nobody likes to hear all these crazy, horrible, and sometimes unthinkable things are happening, But the reality is that these things are going on, and it's oftentimes just not being talked about, not being shared.
Joe's really lonely right now. That first year is really lonely because you constantly keep looking back.
So Joe's experience is a little bit different than a lot of people's because he actually was kicked out of the order. And for something just as simple as trying to share the truth. He knows and he personally experienced what happened to his mom and to his sister, and when he tries to explain it to people, and because it doesn't align with exactly what Daniel says happened, then everyone's calling him a liar. They're all saying that he's wrong, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he can't lie to himself. He experienced it. He was there. And so to see firsthand how easy it is for these leaders, his own father, tell a lie about it, and that's just because he can't just put up with that and let that happen, he gets kicked out because he wants to share the truth. And it's like, but so just because he wants to tell the truth, he ends up getting kicked out. And then his dad comes to him and says that they need to have this meeting, and in order for him to come back after Daniel already kicked him out, there's all these things that he has to do.
I worry that Daniel's just gonna prey on Joe's weaknesses, knowing that if Joe's willing to meet him.
And one thing that Daniel does, and I know not everyone in the order does this is like so extreme, but Daniel's the extremist. But and there's more than just Daniel that does this, but he straight up is using Joe's own siblings, the life that he had growing up with his siblings, bonding with them, and like loving them, right? And he uses that against him, saying that he will never get to see his siblings again unless he comes back to the order. And so now he's putting up this big old list of things for him to come back, and using his relationship with his siblings as leverage for what he will never be able to get or be a part of or even see his siblings ever again if he doesn't come back, and he has to do all these things in order to come back.
I can't stop Joseph from going to see Daniel, but we can be here for him and support him and provide security so that he knows whatever happens in that meeting, that he's gonna walk out of there safe.
Oh my gosh, I hope so bad that Joe recorded or have some audio of this meeting with Daniel, because
You don't have a place, but that's not true. You belong here because you were chosen.
you belong here because you were chosen, not because of the type of person you are or any good deeds that you've done, any righteous life that you've lived. No, just because God said. That's really what he's saying.
It's important that we just blend in.
Pull up right behind this car so we can see from.
You know, one thing that I know for a fact is a good thing that's coming out of these videos is back when these were first being filmed, the order didn't have security or a bunch of fences around their buildings and stuff, but now they do. So I feel like, if nothing else, we've pointed out to them that there's an issue. They're clearly doing something wrong, and so now they have freaking security guards. They're trying so much harder to keep things secretive and off limits from just the public. And so I keep saying this in so many, but it would be so fascinating to see just some regular person just try and just visit the church. As hard as it'll be, I don't even know if it's possible. I really doubt that they would even let people. But it's like this kingdom of God, this righteous church that doesn't allow visitors is just the craziest concept ever. This all-loving Christ that they worship and they teach about is telling them, they believe, to not let anyone come in. Put up freaking gates, have security guards, don't let anyone come into the church parking lot even if you don't know them, because they're not welcome. They aren't chosen to be there. Isn't that so weird? I don't understand what's going on through their head. I'm serious, you guys, not to deviate too much from the episode, but anyone in the Salt Lake area that is willing to experiment with this idea, please let me know, because I just want to know so bad. I don't even care to film it or whatever. I just really want to know what would happen if just some random person just goes to it. Just says, I want to visit the church. I just want to see what this church is like. Visit and attend the sacrament meeting, or what do they even call it? Because they don't do sacrament every single Sunday. Just their church meetings, If some stranger comes to visit, I really wonder if they would take the approach of like, oh no, you're not welcome here, you can't be here, or if they would try to, be welcoming and let someone come in and try and teach them their ways, and I'm sure they would be a little bit biased or picky about what things they share first, and how much they let them visit, I guess, and be a part of the meetings and whatnot. But I do wonder. I want to know the answer to that so bad, because even a lot of order members they're just like, we don't know what happened. Like, that's never happened before. So they don't even know. I bet they don't even have any type of protocol. They don't know. If some random person came, I think their first initial thought is, oh, we don't know you, get out of here. But if someone was like, I just want to join your church, like I just want to feel the Spirit, I feel like most likely they will just say no and tell them to leave, but like, there's got to be a part of them that's like, oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? We're a church. I don't know though. Oh, I want to find that out so bad. So any of you guys wanted to experiment with this, let me know, okay?
To text him and say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How's it going?
Okay, so this is the part where Joe is in the meeting. Jessica is just waiting outside at a safe distance just to make sure that everything's okay. But right now they're just literally waiting in suspense to see what happens.
So what happened?
So it's been 9 months since he's even seen his dad.
Do you think that's something that you would be interested in or do?
Who was all there?
Just my 2 oldest brothers and him.
Did that make it harder for you?
For sure, because...
Wow, you guys. Joe's a baller. I think it's so cool how he's able to just stand up to his dad like that and just not be afraid. I feel like so many people would be terrified to go back to this man that has just been rude to you your whole life, And he goes and he has this meeting with them despite what could possibly happen in it. And he comes out and he's fine. He went through it. He did it, man. I think Joe's so cool, dude. He's awesome.
I miss my family so much. If I did go back just to be with them again.
Dude, Joe is such a smart guy. The way that he's handling this, he's not letting their fear tactics get to him. And they're trying to put all the blame on him and turn everything around, and he's not letting it faze him. Like, he understands. He's so level-headed, and he knows what he's doing. It's really cool to see him do this.
There's no reason to rush to any decisions. If you don't want to go back right away, take some time. You don't have to do it on Daniel's timetable.
And keep in mind, it's not just some regular meeting and he's able to go through this and keep a level head. It's after the order, well, essentially his dad has taken everything from him. Not only kicked him out of the order, but banished him from his family. Like, not allowing his kids to see him at all. In fact, shunning him, trying to make him seem like the worst person possible. And then putting all these requirements for him to even potentially come back, if he would even be so kind as to consider letting him come back. So after his dad puts him through all of this, doesn't listen to him, and he's already had to see multiple people in his family pass away. He's gone through all of this and still able to just keep a level head, still able to approach this in a mature, responsible way, and not let all the crazy things that they're doing get to him. You know how frustrating that would be? You know how badly I would want to fight somebody after going through all of this? And he just handles it. He takes it like a man, and he just does everything he has to get it done. It's amazing to see. Oh, Joe's so cool. Joe doesn't let it faze him. Oh, it doesn't get to him at all. He handles it so well.
Stop it.
I want to reshare what Joe just mentioned. So, when they asked Joe what they think his mom would want him to do, and he answers as brutally honest that he knows that she would want him to stand up for what is right and to tell the truth. And that's exactly what he did. Sometimes it takes motivation from someone else, even more than what we possess, to be able to stand up for what we believe in, what we know is right. And it's so fascinating to see this happen and see a whole group of religious people that claim they stand for righteousness and for telling the truth and doing what's right. But when it's not in their favor, then they don't care. And too many people are just willing to just stand on the sidelines and just let things happen because it's not them directly being the ones lying or being deceiving, but they let these leaders deceive and take advantage of other people. And they just let it happen. It's really sad.